Stephen, I feel sorry for you working so hard. Can you let Vincent attend the wedding in your place in a few days? My girlfriend Laura looked at me with eyes full of concern. Baby, you're the one who's worried about me. I pinched her beautiful face and said to her with a loving gaze, I also have something to discuss with you. Just thinking about how painful childbirth is, I can't bear for you to suffer, so I decided to have your best friend Isabella help you with the pregnancy. Saying that, I handed her the pregnancy report. This is the report from the checkup I went with her to yesterday. The doctor said the baby is developing well. Laura's smile froze on her face as she took the pregnancy report. Is this for real? Her eyes reddened with tears as she yelled at me. The baby is already over 2 months along. When did this even happen? Probably around... At that moment, my phone rang. It was her best friend, Isabella. After finishing the call, I grabbed my jacket and headed out the door. Isa wants something sour. I'll go check it out, I said without looking back as I walked out of the house. Stephen, you bastard, come back here. Pfft, Laura screamed hysterically, a mouthful of blood splattering onto the pregnancy report on the ground. Chapter 1, The Redemption Through Reincarnation. I'm someone who crossed over into a book. This is a very melodramatic novel called To Fulfill the Promise with Her Ex. The wife had him attend the wedding in place of the groom. The plot is that old cliched story where the ex-boyfriend dumped the female protagonist for a wealthy woman. The female protagonist was devastated, but later, under the care and comfort of the male protagonist, she slowly recovered and her family business also began to flourish. Gradually, she started to fall for the male protagonist and they ended up together. Later, the female protagonist's ex was tired of being played by the rich old woman. He was left with nothing except for a bunch of diseases after being used for 3 years and was sent back to the country. On the day he returned to the country, the female protagonist threw the male protagonist into the heavy rain and went to pick up her ex from the airport, telling him she'd come back to meet him later. But that night, the female protagonist hosted a welcome dinner for her ex and completely forgot about the male protagonist. The male protagonist had to stay out in the rain all night and ended up with a cold and fever for several days. Another time, a heavy storm raged with lightning and thunder scaring both of them. As they were being intimate, the ex called saying he was scared and asked the female protagonist to come keep him company. So the female protagonist left the male protagonist behind and drove through the storm to meet her ex. In fact, the male protagonist was the one who was more frightened. He was the one who was scared of being alone, curled up in a corner of the bed, staring at the ceiling until morning. The male protagonist gave up on her because the female protagonist and her ex had a childhood promise that regardless of whether they were together or not, they would hold a wedding when they came of age. When she came back home after the wedding, she couldn't find the male protagonist anywhere. Then came the heartbreaking chase of the husband by the female protagonist. As a saying goes in the romance novels from various parallel worlds, late love is cheaper than grass. As a result, the male protagonist became heartbroken and never married, while the female protagonist went crazy with regret and lost her sanity. Meanwhile, the ex was completely fine with nothing happening to him. The ending was tragic, but now that I've arrived, it's time to have some fun. Chapter 2, Picking Up in the Heavy Rain. To be honest, I realized that crossing over into this world isn't so bad. The male protagonist's family has a company and money, and his girlfriend's conditions are similar, plus she's very pretty. No matter what happens later, for now, things are pretty good. Apart from being a little overly sentimental and having a not-so-great ending, the male protagonist's other qualities are top-notch. But I can change his overly sentimental nature. I'll enjoy the benefits from him, but as for the bitter love, let someone else deal with it, certainly not me. When I first arrived, I was living in harmony with Laura, happily cohabiting for over a year. At that time, Laura's ex Vincent came back. Today, Laura had made plans with her friends to go out for hot pot. The driver was taking me, Laura, and her friend Isabella. As soon as we stepped out, the rain started pouring down in buckets. At this moment, Laura's phone rang. I could see her body tense up visibly as she quickly dug out her phone from her bag, almost answering in a second. She deliberately lowered her voice, but her eagerness was obvious. Hello? I didn't hear what was said on the other end of the line, but I saw her eyes light up in an instant, and a joyful excitement spread across her face like a girl who just received a surprise. Even her lips couldn't help but curve upward, and her voice seemed to get sweeter by 8 degrees. Really? You're here? I know. It must be hard to get a cab in this weather. Don't move, just wait for me there. I'll come pick you up right now. After hanging up, she turned her head, her face full of guilt, her eyes darting around, not daring to look me in the eye. Stephen, something urgent came up at the company. Manager Lou called. There's an emergency meeting that I need to handle right away. Look, the rain is so heavy, there isn't enough space in the car for all of us. How about you get out first? I'll finish this and come back to pick you up, okay? I was drinking some water when I couldn't hold it in and accidentally sprayed her face. Good grief, I couldn't believe my eyes.
How did the original person believe this nonsense for over a year? What she said on the phone had nothing to do with a meeting. And the car can't fit? Is this stretch limousine made of paper? Even if 3 more people came, there would still be plenty of space. Laura. Before I could speak, Isabella, who was sitting next to me, couldn't hold back any longer. She frowned, her tone clearly disapproving. It's raining like it's pouring from the sky. What are you thinking, letting Stephen get out in this weather? What if he catches a cold? And what company secrets can't involve him? Laura quickly pinched Isabella's long, sexy leg under the table, giving her a sly look. She gestured wildly, as though afraid I wouldn't notice, and lowered her voice. Company secrets? It's business-related. Stephen wouldn't understand. Plus, I need to pick up an important client on the way. We really can't fit anyone else in the car. I sneered coldly in my heart, but didn't expose her. All right, no problem. You all go ahead. No, wait. Mind your own business. Just drop me off after you turn right at the next street, then go straight for 800 meters. I couldn't help but think, let's see who's the one playing around. While I was thinking this, the car stopped, and Laura glanced out the window. Fashion International KTV. Stephen, what are you doing here? Just avoiding the rain? No more talking. You guys drive slowly. I closed the door and quickly ran into the KTV. Miss, should we head to the company now? The driver's question snapped Laura out of her trance as she stared at the KTV entrance. Go to the airport? She absent-mindedly replied. As the car started moving, she furrowed her brows, still staring at the KTV. When did Stephen start going to places like this? I never allowed him to come to such venues. Even if he did, he had to be with me. The girls in there are all, hey. Her friend Isabella slapped her shoulder. What are you staring at? You look like your soul's been sucked out. Nothing. Just book a good hotel. After we pick up Vincent, we'll go straight there to welcome him. Got it. We'll go to the Cantonese restaurant we usually go to. Okay. Chapter 3. The Turmoil. As I rushed into the KTV, the deafening music and dazzling, mesmerizing lights instantly enveloped me, banishing the chill from outside. The timid, submissive memories of the original owner, who was so tightly controlled by Laura that she didn't even know which way the KTV door faced, made me feel a bit unfamiliar with this place. But that didn't stop me from enjoying this rare freedom and indulgence. Good evening, sir. How many people are with you? The server, dressed in a crisp vest, greeted me enthusiastically. 1 person. Please give me the VIP room. Certainly, sir. This way, please. Once inside the private room, a handsome, cheerful server came in to help with ordering songs and pouring drinks. Sir, here's your fruit platter. Enjoy. Would you like help picking songs? What kind of style do you prefer? Well, we don't need to worry about that right now. I waved my hand generously and said with a carefree attitude, First, get me the best girls you've got. Let's get this party started. Savoring the sweet fruit and enjoying the high-energy music that filled the room, I reclined on the comfortable sofa, my mood soaring with joy. Forget the melodramatic plot. Forget the unforgettable lover. I'm going to intuit life right now. Meanwhile, Laura's car successfully picked up Vincent at the airport. He was wearing all designer clothes, though his shabby appearance couldn't be hidden. His expression was calculating, and there was a hint of ambition in his eyes. As soon as Vincent got into the car, he started his performance, his gaze seemingly glued to Laura. Laura, it's been a long time. You look even more beautiful. His eyes were deep with a nostalgic warmth, and a trace of subtle greed as his gaze swept across the luxurious interior of the car. Thank you. You look good too. Laura responded politely, but her eyes kept glancing at her phone. Her mind was elsewhere. The image of me rushing into the KTV kept flashing uncontrollably in her mind. The welcome dinner was set at a high-end private Cantonese restaurant with a private room reserved. In addition to Isabella, there were several mutual friends of theirs. Vincent was clearly the center of attention tonight. He went all out with his performance, recounting nostalgic memories, giving deep, lingering glances, and throwing in subtle, ambiguous hints in his words. He was executing his tactics smoothly. Do you remember when we were kids? Under that big locust tree in our hometown? You said that when we grew up, we would have a wedding. These past years abroad have been good, but I've always felt so lonely. What I miss most is your sweet and sour ribs and the feeling of being with you. Unfortunately, Laura seemed to have truly left her soul at the KTV. Her mind couldn't help but drift back to the image of me surrounded by beauties and indulging in luxury. The more she thought about it, the more restless she became. Her chopsticks absently poked at a shrimp dumpling in her bowl, nearly turning it into a pile of shrimp paste. What is Stephen doing right now? Why would he go to a place like that? Is he mad? All kinds of thoughts made her uneasy. Laura, Vincent called her for the 3rd time, seeing her absent-mindedly swirling her wine glass. This wasn't what he had expected. He thought Laura should be all over him, asking how he was, warmly greeting him as usual. The Laura who had always been eager to please him was now right beside him, yet she seemed absent and distracted. Oh, sorry, Vincent. Laura suddenly snapped back to reality, forcing a somewhat stiff smile. She put down the now mangled dumpling. I have a family emergency. It's urgent. I need to leave now. You all enjoy yourselves. Eat well, drink well. I'll cover all the costs for today. We'll catch up another time. At this moment, she just wanted to rush back to the KTV and see what was going on. Having said that, she seemed to be running away from something, grabbing her bag and rushing out. Vincent quickly grabbed her wrist, pulling her with a bit too much force, his voice tinged with a sense of grievance. Laura, what's so urgent? Is it
More important than seeing me after all these years? I've been abroad for so long, and the person I've wanted to see the most every single day is you. The welcome dinner's only halfway through, and the main guest is about to leave. Can't you stay and spend some more time with me? This was his usual tactic, one that had always worked on Laura in the past, but this time, Laura immediately yanked her hand free from his grip, her brows furrowed with clear irritation and urgency. Her tone became sharp as she spoke. "Vincent, I really have an emergency. Stephen, he's still out there in the rain waiting for me. I have to go pick him up." Before she could finish speaking, she dashed out of the private room like the wind, forgetting her coat. "Stephen!" Vincent glared in the direction she had disappeared, his teeth almost grinding to dust. His eyes darkened with a murderous intensity. It's always Stephen, just his substitute, a stumbling block he never took seriously. Yet it seemed he was more complicated than Vincent had assumed. Laura raced to the KTV, but naturally she arrived to find nothing. I had already checked out and left, and the private room had been taken over by another group of revelers. She returned home utterly dejected, only to find that I still hadn't returned, which was an unprecedented situation. She sat on the couch, her initial anxious waiting slowly turning into concern and self-reassurance. He might just be angry, out with friends. Her mind ran wild with various possibilities, and eventually exhaustion and unease overtook her, and she drifted off to sleep, still with her makeup on. The next morning, after a comfortable sleep in a five-star hotel's presidential suite, I packed up and returned home humming a tune, feeling relaxed and in a good mood. As soon as I unlocked the door, Laura, who had been curled up on the couch looking haggard and drained, shot up like she'd been shocked by electricity, rushing toward me. Her eyes were scanning me from head to toe, moving up and down like a human scanner. She even sniffed the air like a little dog, trying to catch some clue, some sign. "Stephen, where did you go last night? Why didn't you come home? Do you know how worried I was about you? I couldn't get a hold of you." Her tone was questioning, but more than that, it was filled with an overwhelming sense of anxiety and panic. Her eyes were red-rimmed. I leisurely pulled out my phone, unlocked it, opened WeChat Moments, and found a post from Isabella from last night. I showed it to her. It was the lively collage photo of their dinner with Vincent sitting in the main seat, grinning triumphantly. Laura was sitting beside him, though somewhat distracted, she still appeared cordial in the photo. "Didn't you say you had an urgent company matter last night? Was it really just about picking up this important client to welcome him?" My tone was calm, but it carried an undeniable weight. "Seems like this client is quite important enough for you to leave your fiancé out in the rain all night." My eyes remained calm, but Laura felt an unprecedented pressure, something she couldn't escape. Her face turned pale instantly, her lips trembling as she hurried to explain, her words jumbled and incoherent. "Stephen, listen, let me explain. It's not what you think. It's just that Vincent, he just got back, and he's unfamiliar with the place. Plus, the rain was so heavy he couldn't get a cab. I meant to go straight to you after dropping him off, but his friends insisted on having a welcome dinner. I couldn't get away from them. I did go to KTV to find you, really, but you weren't there." Her explanation was weak and flimsy. Even she could hear how full of holes it was. I waved my hand, uninterested in hearing her half-hearted explanation, grabbed my things, and headed out for work. Over the next few days, Laura became much more obedient, coming home on time. She spoke and acted with a certain carefulness, almost as if trying to please me, hoping to make up for that night's mistakes. She even started cooking for me every day, something she'd never done before, although the results were barely edible. Unfortunately, the plot wasn't going to let her off easily. With Vincent's constant calls, either he was feeling down and needed company, or he was facing some kind of trouble and needed help, or he was just inviting her to a social gathering. She couldn't resist. Under his persistent pressure, her guilt quickly faded, and she began coming home later and later, citing work or her friend needing company as the reason. As for me, I wasn't idle either. When she went out for friend gatherings, I went out for business events. We each did our own thing, keeping our distance, which was fine. Meanwhile, my connection with Isabella grew closer and closer as she repeatedly came to Laura's rescue. Chapter 4. Thunderstorm, Passion. That night, the wind howled fiercely, rattling the windows, followed by flashes of lightning and thunder, with torrential rain pounding down like yellow beans. Sure enough, Vincent's special ringtone went off just as we were about to drift off to sleep after some exercise. Laura glanced at me and then answered the phone. "Laura, it's thundering. I'm really scared. I'm here all alone, and the house feels so empty. I know how much I hate this kind of weather. Can you come and keep me company?" Laura held the phone, a flash of hesitation crossing her face as she looked at me, almost asking for my permission. However, I remained expressionless, staring at her. I wouldn't say yes to letting her go, but if she wanted to go, I wouldn't stop her either. "Steven, Vincent says he's scared all alone at home. What do you think?" "You don't need to ask me if you want to go or not. Decide for yourself." Laura seemed taken aback by my response. She stood there frozen for a moment. "Steven, then I'll go check on him. I'll be right back. Wait for me." After saying this, she hurriedly put on her clothes, grabbed an umbrella, and without hesitation, dashed out into the storm and thunder. As I watched her disappear into the rain, my smile vanished instantly. I quickly grabbed my phone, scrolled to Isabella's contact in the phone book, and dialed her number. The phone was quickly answered, and I cleared my throat. "Hey, Isabella, it's thundering outside, and I'm all alone at home. Can you come and keep me company?" There was a brief silence on the other end, and then Isabella's clear, decisive voice came through, tinged with a hint of excitement and expectation. "Sure, I'll be there soon." No extra questions, no fake pleasantries. Perfect. I snapped my fingers, a sly smile curling at the corner of my lips, my plan working out just as I had hoped. Isabella arrived even faster than I expected, her hair and shoulders damp, clearly having rushed through the rain to get here. As she stepped inside, a gust of wet air followed her, and just as she entered, a massive thunderclap seemed to strike the roof. A loud scrack echoed through the room, shaking the window panes, and the lights flickered in sync with the sound. I seized the moment, feigning a shiver, and let out a soft gasp, then immediately dove into her arms, which smelled faintly of rain and something subtly refreshing. I tightly wrapped my arms around her slender but firm waist, burying my head in her chest, my voice muffled as if I were still recovering from the shock. "It's so scary. I hate thunderstorm weather." As I spoke, I shook my head, feeling the softness of her chest and her waist, thin but full with just the right amount of give. Isabella froze for a moment, seemingly surprised by my sudden boldness, but then relaxed quickly. One arm gently circled my back, while the other rhythmically patted me like she was soothing a frightened animal. Her voice was warm, tinged with a smile she couldn't quite hide. "Don't be scared, don't be scared. I'm here now." I held her gently, pulling her toward the bedroom. "The thunder's too loud outside. It's really frightening. Let's go talk in the bedroom. It's quieter in there, and it's warmer." We entered the bedroom and sat on the soft bed, initially chatting casually about the weather and how the fear of thunder stemmed from childhood trauma. We talked about life goals, future plans, and complained about people with bad eyesight. As the conversation progressed, we found ourselves closer and closer, breaths audible. The air grew thick with ambiguity, the sounds of thunder and rain outside becoming the perfect, most passionate background music as though cheering us on. The mattress sank slightly, clothes rustled as they slid off, accompanied by suppressed gasps and murmurs. Here, imagine 3,000 words of indescribable content. In short, it was a night of intense action, a harmonious and fulfilling one, fully embodying the concept of deep communication. The next morning, I woke up feeling refreshed, but the space beside me was already empty, leaving only some ambiguous wrinkles in the sheets and a lock of long, fragrant hair on the pillow that didn't belong to me. By nearly noon, Laura finally came back, her face tired and heavy with dark circles under her eyes. She saw me lounging on the living room couch, casually reading a magazine. Her eyes flickered, and she began to explain, her voice hoarse and weary. "Steven, the rain was so heavy last night we couldn't drive back, and Vincent was so scared he couldn't sleep all night. A few of our friends were worried, so we stayed in the living room with him all night." She carefully observed my face for a reaction. While I smiled faintly and scrolled through my phone, checking a playful, caring message from Isabella, I lazily responded with a nonchalant, barely lifting my eyelids. To Laura, it felt like her fiancé had fallen in love. She froze for a moment, as though punching cotton, her prepared explanation stuck in her throat, making her feel particularly uncomfortable. She cautiously leaned forward, her voice carrying disbelief and a hint of anger. "You're just going to act like this after I spent the night at another man's house?" This was not the confrontation or tears she had anticipated. This indifference, this lack of concern unsettled her more than any accusation. Only then did I lift my gaze from the phone screen, calmly asking her, what should my reaction be? Crying? Throwing a fit? Hanging myself? Or locking you in the house and forbidding you to leave? You should at least be angry, question me, get jealous. That's how you show you care. She grew agitated, her voice rising with a sense of being neglected and frustrated. You know this behavior isn't right and it's easy to misinterpret, yet you still went. I shrugged, my tone casual with a touch of resigned indifference. I'm just your boyfriend. I don't need to meddle in everything. With that, I put away my phone, stood up, straightened my clothes, and told her I was going out to dinner with Isabella. I needed to get there early. I couldn't keep a girl waiting. I left her standing there, her expression shifting wildly from shock to anger, then to a hint of panic, and finally total disarray. Only then did she belatedly and clearly realize that my lack of concern hit her harder than any heated argument or accusation ever could. It left her feeling terrified and powerless. Chapter 5. A Pregnancy Checkup's Unexpected Twist. In the following days, Laura seemed genuinely flustered, trying hard to make up for it, her actions even coming across as a bit clumsy and forced. She began to spend more time with me, helping pick out hotels, trying on wedding dresses, choosing home goods. She was overly focused on the wedding preparations. Occasionally, she'd message me, asking what I wanted for dinner, even cooking herself. Her cooking skills had noticeably improved. I went along with everything, playing my role perfectly, gentle, considerate, and flawless. It was just about playing along with the act. I was clear on the situation. According to the plot, this wedding was definitely not going to happen. Vincent's ultimate kill move from that childhood pact hadn't been used yet. I was just waiting for the drama to unfold, and anyway, she was the one spending the money. During this time, she was still frequently called away by Vincent due to various emergencies, which gave me and Isabella plenty of opportunities to spend time together and have deep conversations. Our relationship grew rapidly as we discovered that we shared similar values, hobbies, and even complaints about Laura and Vincent. Then, one day, while Isabella and I were dining at an exquisite private restaurant, just after our dishes had been served but before we could start eating, Isabella suddenly turned pale, clutching her mouth and gagging. She quickly stood up, muttered an apology, and rushed off to the restroom. I watched her stagger away, a slight unease in my heart quickly followed by a strange, intense sense of joy and expectation. Could it be? She was pregnant? Sure enough, after my insistence and accompanying her, the hospital test results came back quickly. Looking at the ultrasound where two tiny but clearly defined little beans were already forming, I felt an odd, indescribable sensation. If it's meant to be, it's fate. And not just one, but two. Seeing Isabella, who was clearly at a loss for what to do, I tightly held her hand. Later that evening when we returned home, Laura had prepared dinner and was waiting for us. Upon seeing me, she rushed over with a concerned look, hugging my arm and pressing her body close to mine. "Stephen, I've noticed that you've been running around for the wedding recently. You've lost so much weight. I feel so sorry for you. Why don't you let the wedding planners handle some of the small tasks? You don't have to work so hard," she said, her voice dripping with sympathy. A red flag immediately went off in my mind. Was this the moment? Well, it was about time to confront her tonight. I kept my face calm, even patting her hand gently, speaking in a soft tone. "It's fine." She paused, carefully observing my face before cautiously suggesting, I have an idea. An idea? Is there something you can't say to me? Well, for the wedding in a few days, it's really just a formality, mainly for the elders. The ceremony is long and tiring, and I'm afraid you'll get exhausted. How about Vincent stands in for you at the ceremony? He's about the same size as you. The suit fits the same. If he wears a tuxedo with a mask and sunglasses, no one will be able to tell from a distance. That way, I won't have to watch you work so hard, and I'll feel less sorry for you. She said it with such sincerity, her eyes even reddening with a touch of concern. If it were for anything else, I might have been touched, but now, this was treating me like an idiot. She wanted to spare me the exhaustion of attending my own wedding. Fucking is even more exhausting. Should I let him take my place in that too? I silently complained a few times in my mind, but I didn't let it bother me. After all, she was just a girlfriend, and I never intended to marry her anyway. A smile, more exaggerated and filled with even more concern than hers, instantly spread across my face. I even reached out to affectionately pinch her cheek. Sweetheart, I have to say, no one else could possibly care about me like you do. You always think of everything for me, and only you could come up with such thoughtful ideas. Seeing me smile so brightly, seemingly without any hint of displeasure, she immediately relaxed, her smile growing even sweeter. Baby, you care about me so much, and I care about you even more. Every time I think about how painful it is for a woman to give birth, how exhausting it must be to carry a child for 10 months, my heart aches like a knife cutting through it. I can't bear to see you suffer even a little. That's why I've decided I'll have your best friend Isabella carry your child for you. As she spoke, she pulled out the freshly printed pregnancy report from her pocket and slowly handed it to me. Upon hearing this, Laura stood on her tiptoes and kissed me excitedly. I knew my Stephen was the best. What? Have Isabella carry the child for me? Laura's smile instantly froze. She couldn't believe her ears. Slowly, she took the report from my hand, lowering her head bit by bit. Her eyes fell on the document and her pupils contracted violently. Pregnancy, about 13 weeks. Twins, good fetal development. She muttered, as though she couldn't comprehend the words. She muttered each word slowly, her fingers trembling uncontrollably, the paper she was holding starting to crumple under the pressure. After a few seconds of silence, she suddenly looked up, her eyes bloodshot, tears rushing out like a broken string of pearls. "This is real. The baby's over 2 months along. You two, when did this happen? Huh? When? Right under my nose, Isabella. That slut, she seduced you." She suddenly crumpled the report into a ball and threw it violently on the ground. I scratched my head, feigning indifference. Let me think. It was probably the day it was storming. You went to Vincent's place, right? I was scared, so I asked her to come keep me company. Just then, my phone rang at the most convenient moment. It was the special ringtone I had set for Isabella. I immediately answered the call, my tone switching to a gentle mode, my eyes softening. "Hello, Isa. What's up?" Okay, you're craving something sour. All right, I'll head over right now. What do you want? Sour plums? Hawthorn? Or maybe lemons? Got it, I'll buy a bit of everything. You can choose. I'll be there soon. After hanging up, I casually grabbed the coat on the couch, slipped it on smoothly, and walked toward the door, completely ignoring the woman behind me, who was trembling from extreme anger and despair. "Sorry, Laura, but Isabella's morning sickness is acting up. She suddenly wants something sour, and I have to deliver it to her. Pregnant women come first, right? Can't let her go hungry. You understand, don't you?" Laura screamed hysterically, her voice hoarse as she grabbed a nearby pillow and threw it at me with all her strength. I didn't even look back. At this moment, all I could think about was getting some sour food. "Stephen, how could you do this to me? You didn't explain things to me properly. I'll never forgive you." With a final desperate breath, Laura collapsed on the floor, spitting a mouthful of blood that splattered across the pregnancy report. Chapter 6, Relentless Entanglement. Afterward, things unfolded as expected. I packed my main belongings and moved into Isabella's place. In the following days, I was extra careful and considerate with Isabella, acting every bit the model husband and father.
I attended every prenatal checkup without fail, recited all the pregnancy precautions, and constantly found ways to nourish her and soothe her occasional emotional swings due to hormonal changes. How could Laura possibly let it go? She first tried calling me relentlessly. After I blocked her, she found every possible channel to inquire about me, using all the connections at her disposal. Soon enough, she found out where Isabella and I were living, our high-end apartment in the city center. One morning, the doorbell rang incessantly, each ring louder and more urgent than the last. I quickly ran to the door, as Isabella had been especially irritable these past few days and couldn't bear the noise. When I opened the door, there stood Laura, looking a bit haggard, her spirit clearly shaken. The first thing she saw was Isabella standing behind me, wearing loose, comfortable cotton loungewear, her small belly already subtly showing, a natural, healthy flush on her face. Isabella remained calm, knowing this moment would eventually come. In an instant, Laura's eyes filled with pure rage and hatred. Her gaze was so intense, it seemed as though she wanted to tear Isabella apart with her bare hands. "Isabella, I treated you so well as my best friend. I told you all my secrets, and you, behind my back, you seduced my boyfriend? You shameless bitch!" She completely lost control, yelling like a madwoman, and lunged at Isabella, raising her hand to slap her. My eyes turned cold, and I reacted swiftly. I grabbed her raised wrist firmly and used a little force to push her back. She was already unsteady on her heels, and with her weakened state after everything, my push caused her to stumble and fall onto the ground. Her buttocks hit the cold floor tiles with a dull thud, and her bag flew far away, spilling its contents all over the place in a messy, embarrassing heap. She lifted her head, looking at me with an expression of shock and disbelief, as if I had done something unforgivable. Her voice trembled, filled with accusation and a cry of disbelief. "Stephen, you pushed me for her? You've never even said a harsh word to me before." I stood in front of Isabella, steady and calm. "She's pregnant, carrying my child. Of course I have to protect her and our baby from any harm." "And what about me? What am I to you? I'm your fiancé. We're about to get married and the invitations have already gone out." She sat on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably, her makeup smeared, looking like a child throwing a tantrum for not getting candy. "You..." I raised an eyebrow, my voice laced with undisguised mockery and detachment. "You're just my ex-girlfriend. Did you forget? The moment you left me out in a torrential downpour just to go meet Vincent at the airport, I decided I didn't need you anymore. As for the wedding..." I saw her face turn pale at my words. "Didn't you plan for Vincent to attend instead?" No, that's not it, Stephen. Listen to me. I love you. Nothing happened between Vincent and me. We're innocent. I've always loved you in my heart." She pleaded, struggling to get up again, reaching for me, but I sidestepped, avoiding her grasp. She missed, stumbling and almost falling again, only managing to steady herself by grabbing the wall, her voice a high-pitched wail. "What happened between you two, whether innocent or not, no longer matters to me." I reached out and pulled Isabella close to me, wrapping my arm around her waist. "I'm taking you upstairs. You need to stay calm and relaxed while pregnant." Then I turned to Laura. "Please leave, and don't come back again. If you keep harassing me, I won't hesitate to take legal action and sue you for harassment," I said, then turned my back and didn't look at her again. After that, it seemed like Laura fell into a terrifying obsession, as if she had lost her mind. She started a series of endless pursuits. She bombarded me with phone calls, blocked me outside my office building, waited by the gates of our neighborhood, and found all sorts of new ways to torment me. Her mental state was visibly deteriorating, but I remained resolute, rejecting her firmly without any hesitation or ambiguity. The company instructed security to not allow her in, and the property management of the neighborhood was also notified. Her repeated appearances only made me more grateful that I had escaped that nightmare in time, and made me feel even more protective of Isabella, who needed a quiet and peaceful environment to carry the baby. One day after work, as I was walking out of the parking lot, Vincent was standing right there, his face dark with anger, his eyes burning with fury and defiance. "Stephen, we need to talk." He blocked my way, his tone harsh, as if he were the one in charge. "I don't have time." I couldn't be bothered with him, trying to walk past. "Laura won't talk to me anymore. She doesn't answer my calls. She blocked me on WeChat. When I go to see her, she just hits me and curses at me. She says it's all my fault, that I ruined her happiness. She believes this is all because of you. Why did you..." Slap. I slapped him so hard he spun around in place, the force making my hand tingle. He wiped the blood from his mouth, looking at me in shock. "You? How dare you?" "How dare I?" said, kicking him in the groin. He collapsed onto the ground, groaning in pain, trying to get up, but the excruciating pain in his lower body made him give up the effort. "You went to her and she hit you. As if I wouldn't do the same if you came to me." I stepped closer to him, my tone cold. Let me make it clear again. I don't care about your relationship with her. She's single now, and you still have a chance to pursue her. I gave him a disgusting glance, like he was just a piece of trash, then got into my car and drove off. I had no intention of playing matchmaker for them. After all, in the original story, after the male lead left, Laura and Vincent turned against each other and both ended up worse for wear. Let them deal with their own mess. I was busy enough running between work and home, and I didn't have time to waste on their nonsense. Later on, I heard bits and pieces of news about Laura through some mutual friends. It seemed that Vincent still hadn't given up, believing Laura was just angry and would come back to him once she cooled off, so he went after her again. The two of them had a wild chase on the highway, and in the end, their cars crashed into each other. Vincent died on the spot, while Laura's legs were trapped in the wreckage, suffering severe fractures. Though she survived after multiple surgeries, she would be confined to a wheelchair for the rest of her life. The once glamorous young lady from a wealthy family ended up with such a tragic fate, and it could only be seen as a painful price she paid for her own recklessness and blindness. Chapter 7. The Wedding of Happiness. Several months later, Isabella and I held our wedding on a bright sunny day. The wedding wasn't held in an extravagant venue, but in an artistic manner that had been thoughtfully decorated to feel warm and romantic. Isabella wore a custom-made white lace wedding dress that perfectly highlighted her round pregnant belly, which had visibly grown. Her face radiated with the softness of motherhood and an inner glow of happiness. Under the sunlight, she looked angelic, as if she had fallen from the heavens. However, just as the officiant was about to announce the ceremony complete, someone appeared at the very back of the crowd. Someone whose presence was in stark contrast to the festive atmosphere. It was Laura, sitting in a wheelchair, pushed by a middle-aged woman in a caregiver uniform. She was dressed in a somber black dress, her face pale and haggard, her eyes sunken deep into her face. Her gaze was locked on us, tightly, holding onto the veil we had originally selected for our wedding, her fingers white from gripping it so hard. The officiant, quick on his feet, merely paused for a moment, then continued as though he hadn't noticed her at all. His smile grew even brighter as he raised his voice, full of joy and excitement. Now I declare the wedding is complete. Groom, you may kiss your beautiful bride. To the sweet sounds of the wedding march and the guests' enthusiastic and lasting applause, I kissed Isabella deeply. As the kiss ended, I looked at Isabella. She was gazing up at me, her eyes filled with love and happiness that almost seemed to overflow. She gently caressed her round belly, where the fruit of our love was growing. I smiled too, tightly holding her hand. The late passion I had found, after waking up to reality and decisively cutting off the past, was worth more than anything. This happiness was priceless. As for the woman in the wheelchair, sorry, your script was torn up by you long ago. There was no role for you in my story anymore. Your part in this tale is now officially over. The future stage belongs to our family of 4.